Welcome to Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference. Well, coming up this hour on Conscious Talk. So, life is something we live moment by moment. But so much of the time we fill our moments with negative thoughts. Well, we'll talk to Ora Nadrich about her mindfulness approach to living an authentic life. Her book is Live True. Then we'll also chat about all those medications you've been taking for multiple symptoms and why you might want to address them with a root cause approach. And now I welcome your hosts for the day, Brenda Michaels and Rob Spears.
And thank you, Benny, and happy Valentine's Day to you, Benny. You've been with us for so many years. You're like a son to us, so we want to wish you a happy Valentine's Day. And folks,
thanks very much. Big
you're
back
welcome.
at you, and big heart.
Big hearts.
Heart.
And folks, thank you. Thank you for joining us here today on Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference. This is another hour of radio here where we're waking up, we're learning, we're growing, we're doing all of those things, and we're doing it one listener at a time, and that listener is you.
And of course, we have been learning right along with you all of these years and taking this in and doing our best to live this lifestyle. And today we have a special guest. We've had her on the show before. It's Ora Nadrich, and she has a new book out called Live True. It's a mindfulness guide to authenticity. But Ora is the founder and president of the Institute for Transformational Thinking and author of, aside from Live True, a mindful guide to authenticity, a number of other works. But she's a certified life coach and mindfulness teacher, and she specializes in transformational thinking, self-discovery, and mentoring new coaches as they develop their careers. You can find out about her by going to oranadrich.com, but we've got her here. We really wanted you to hear her this morning. Ora, welcome back to Conscious Talk.
Hi, Brenda and Rob. Thank you so much for having me back, and happy Valentine's Day.
Yes, and same to you, Ora. And it was really wanting to schedule you. It's interesting when this popped up on my computer, and I decided, I'd really like to have her on Valentine's Day. And the reason I really wanted to do that, Ora, is because I can't think of a greater gift that we could give ourselves, and then we extend that to others just by our new behavior, is to be mindful, is to be aware, awake, and open to our authenticity. So I thought that was a good subject for today. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So let's start out with, why is your message in your wonderful book, Live True, about living authentically, necessary in times like this?
Well, when we are at a time when we hear things like fake news, and, I don't want to do a deep dive into politics, but, that is a very powerful message to send out into the universe. When you start to hear things like fake and ingenuine and inauthentic and not real, that really sends a very powerful message to us as to we need to be very cognizant. We need to be very awake and aware of what is real and what is not. Mm-hmm. It's really incumbent upon us to be able to make that distinction so that we don't rely on the external or what we're blitzed with daily to dictate to us what is real, what is authentic, and what is not.
Yeah. We've been talking for a long time about this concept, and so I was so glad that you really pulled it together in this book. But we've all been living this, it's kind of baked into the structure of this culture. We've all been living a false reality based on other people's beliefs and teachings, etc. We grow up that way, and it's not a fault, it's just the way that it is. But underneath all of that, we've been feeling these stirrings. We know that there is something else, and that something else is us. So, how does mindfulness, really start to pull this together?
Well, mindfulness just to give you a little bit of a simple description of what it is, because it's so in the zeitgeist right now, which is great, that it's on the cover of Time and it's on the cover of Newsweek, and it's, you know, it's very much a word that is in conversation, and yet a lot of people really don't know what it means, and it is a quality that is inherent in all of us, meaning that we all have the ability to be mindful. And what that means essentially is that we are awake and present in the moment that we are in right now. So it's being fully aware and conscious in the present moment and aware of ourselves, first and foremost, our behavior, our actions, our words, and everything around us. And that is really consciousness. That is being awake and conscious, you know. So if we implement this quality that we have and value it, because I think it's invaluable, and I think it is such a powerful tool and skill to use navigating the waters of these times that we're in right now.
Yeah. The old concept that we've talked about forever in the spiritual community is that you know, we're a spiritual being having a human experience. And to me, that's what the mindfulness movement is all about, is like actually connecting those two up with our experience. Because our experience becomes so much, you know, we get caught up in our bodies and pains and emotions and all of these things, all of which are important. But if you can be in the moment and reach that point, which really is spirit, which really is who we are, you can deal with a lot of things in a way that we're just not used to dealing with it, but it's very effective.
Very effective.
Yeah,
it is,
like
Rob,
removing pain, etc., right?
It is. It really is. I say that mindfulness it really keeps us present, and it sometimes gives us a little nudge or a little push, or sometimes even the shove that we need to stay present and to stay aware and to stay awake, so that we can go, oh, wait a minute, I was about to fall into these old habits of thinking, or I was about to fall into believing, you know, the illusion of that I'm not good enough or I'm not lovable. It is such a brilliant reminder to stay present to who we really are, our most authentic self.
And I think I want to bring this point up, Ora, being at Valentine's Day, and we're talking about the heart, is that mindfulness is really, because I don't want our listeners to confuse being in the mind or mindfulness, you know, with those two, or that mindfulness is really heart-centered, is it not?
Absolutely. You know, I mean, there are many descriptions of and definitions of mindfulness. You know, mindfulness is being in the present moment with total awareness and self-acceptance. And I say, with the cherry on top, self-love.
Yes, that's what both of us feel as well. Because when we are living authentically, we are loving ourselves and feel connected to everything else and everyone else. And I feel that's where we draw from compassion. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because when we really are aligned with our true nature, our true essence, Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it, the authentic self, who we came into this world as, our most pure being. You know, this is the true essence of self. This is the spirit. This is the heart. This is the soul. This is what breathes life into our body and really animates, as you said, Rob, the human experience. It is the spirit. So when we're really aligned with that and we're living true and authentic to that, we are really functioning from a place of heart-centeredness and compassion. And we infuse everything that we do and everything we say with love. You know, it's like that becomes the filter of which we perceive this life. And it takes practice and it takes commitment, because we get jarred out of that truth, you know, by life's obstacles and what we're inundated with and what we're besieged with daily. I mean, it's
Yes.
fascinating to me that we're actually under attack most often with so many things that are the complete opposite of what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We often joke about the fact that our landscape is not strewn with bodies. That there's a lot of grace out there, and there's something operating within us that kind of holds it together. And I think for me, Ora, the question has been for years, and I believe this is for a lot of people. It's we're always looking for, are we okay? What is okay? And if the only place to find that is inside. So when we come back, we're going to continue our discussion with Ora Nadrich about her new book, Live True. It's a mindfulness guide to authenticity, where you really live. And we'll be back after these messages. And welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Talk. And as always, we remind you, conscioustalk.net's the website. And it's particularly important because, hey, this is drive time in the Northwest. Most of you are in your car. You're on your way to work. You're listening. We're so glad you're starting your day in an empowering way. But, you want to catch up with these guests. Well, every guest has a guest page at conscioustalk.net. Just put their name or the date in the search engine. You'll find their page. You'll find a play button for the show so you can hear it over and over again. And, of course, it's podcast on Podcast One, among others, a couple hours after the show. So you can catch up that way. And it's always in the archives for up to 2 years. And that's really important because today we're talking with a wonderful person, Ora Nadrich. She has a great book called Live True. It's a mindfulness guide to authenticity. And Ora, what I brought up was this kind of yearning for all of us to feel okay, especially in these times when, the vibes are just weird out there. We've got a lot of things going on, and we want to feel okay. And what I get from your book is when you are in the present moment and you get there with mindfulness, you are okay.
Yes, absolutely. This whole sense of okayness, if you will. First of all, we have to ask ourselves, when and where do we stop feeling okay? And why do we believe we're not okay?
Right.
If you really go back to my first book, Says Who, I say question those thoughts that you have because there's answers to know. That we believe these thoughts and these ideas that sometimes didn't even originate with us. So I really want people to understand that we come in the world perfectly okay. And then along the way on this life, human journey that you've spoken of, we get, it's like the spin cycle in a washing machine. We get turned around a lot, and that we forget that we're really okay and that we're enough. Now, not feeling okay can be valid. We have so many survival needs and concerns, and that's authentic unto itself. We have every right to be concerned about our well-being, but we have to know when it's spilling into areas that are interfering with the quality of our life. I do speak about useful thoughts versus thoughts that don't serve our well-being. If your thoughts are productive, that help you be goal-oriented and solution-oriented as to how to, really secure your survival in a positive, healthy way, that's all good. But when you start to spill into areas of not okayness, and you start to feel doubt and insecure and fear about who you are, you really need to check within. You really need to take what I call in Live True, you need to take your spiritual pulse.
And Ora, you're so right on with that because we spend so much time avoiding discomfort. And it's so interesting when we live in all that resistance, our focus is on exactly what we say we don't want.
Right.
because we're so focused about living in resistance, about resisting what is and accepting right where we are, and that we are okay in that moment and living our lives present moment to present moment. I think that's how we get in the spin cycle that you're calling. And the thoughts just
Absolutely.
continue to go round and round and round.
You do, Brenda. It's like being on the hamster wheel. You know, you
Yes.
keep going, or what I call the yeah buts. You know, we come up with
Yes.
a myriad of excuses. And, you know, I'm very big on the inner journey, if you can tell from my book.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on a psychospiritual journey for a very, very long time, and I am kind of amazed at how much resistance people have to going within.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the fear that you fear really is getting to know yourself better. And what I say, and I speak of a lot in Live True, is, you know, it's like taking a deep dive to the bottom of the sea of your psyche. And I say that. And you may find some wreckage there, but you're also going to find a lot of treasures.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to be willing to go within. You have to be willing to take that deep dive within yourself. And sometimes the fear that we have of just getting to know ourselves a little bit better, to what? Find out that we have, you know, emotions and feelings that are very much a part of the human condition. Insecurity, fear. It's okay to have those feelings, or even to come to know certain aspects of ourselves that we may not like and or love, but learning how to love all of the parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of our favorite sayings that we repeat over and over to remind people of that is that everything is for you. And if you take on that attitude and approach life that way, well, you'll be, for one, very forgiving because
Right.
that's important. And I like what you said, because we need to learn, and we learn by making mistakes, etc. And you know, when you take that deep dive, instead of you know, excoriating yourself for everything you've done wrong, it's kind of like it's a miracle you've survived it and you've learned, and now you're wiser.
Absolutely. And, you know, the inner dialogue, the inner critic can be so brutal, do you know? But if we really go within and we really look at those areas closely, the inquiry, the examined life, and find out that we're human and we have, you know, again, aspects of ourselves that we aspire to be better, you know, it's knowing that you can, you know, who you are today is unlike who you were yesterday and who you're going to be tomorrow. What a great opportunity to awaken to today and say, I can be my best self today. And that is really the personification of mindfulness, because that is really being fully present in the moment that you're in right now and saying, hey, you know what? I have never been in this moment before, and I will never be in this moment again. And I'm going to make it the best moment that it can be.
Mm-hmm. And really what you're expressing there, Ora, which I love, is you one of the things we talk about is that one of our greatest powers is our power to choose, to decide for ourselves. And what you were just expressing there is making those decisions, making those choices. You can get up each morning and take a breath, a long breath into your body, and get really into your body. And we can decide how our day is going to go, our intention and our decision, our choice to make this the best day that we can.
Absolutely.
And that we can be the best we can be in this day. And just state it out loud and mean it. And guess what? It happens.
It really does, Brenda, and it really is just the way in which you acknowledge your present moment awareness of being alive right now, bringing your full self to this moment, as I say, showing up for this moment as who you are right now. And if or when a thought comes up, which invariably it will, and if you can tell in my book, I really, really humor and indulge the reader, because I say, oh, there you go again.
Yeah.
You know, just when you're about to say to yourself, yeah, I'm going to seize the day. I'm going to make this a great moment, a great day. And then, boom, those thoughts come up. And they will. But simply observe them and say, I am not this thought. I am not this thought that wants to undermine me and sabotage me. You know, I am telling myself that this is a moment that I can create my new way of being right now.
Yeah. Well, you know, let's face it, you could have called this a guide to consciousness raising. You know, that could have
Yes.
been the title of your book or the subtitle. And you actually have a Raise Your Consciousness challenge as part of the book. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that approach?
Thank you, Rob, for bringing that up. I happen to really love that, which is why I share these things in my books, because they really intrigue me. You know, Raise Your Consciousness, you know, bar, if you will, challenge is that you're really making a concerted effort to be mindful, to be present, to be here, to be conscious, you know. So that can come up in the way in which you are relating to, first and foremost, yourself, and being consciously aware of your behavior, being consciously aware of what you're saying, being consciously aware of what you're doing, you know, being mindful in your communication with others, being mindful when you're at work, being mindful in your parenting. You know, when we really make that commitment to raise our awareness, which is, like you said, Rob, it is raising consciousness. It's really all in the same. It's taking your awareness higher and raising your consciousness higher, which means you're raising your awareness. You're becoming much more open to what is going on with you and all around you.
Very powerful way to live your life, folks. Extremely powerful. And as we were discussing before the show, Ora, this is the time for it. We must wake up now. This planet is in peril, and people don't like to hear that, and people don't even like to say it, but we have to be realistic with where we're going. The planet is going to survive, but we talked about this earlier, Ora, we're not sure humanity is going to survive if we don't shift and really wake up now. It is time to be fully awake.
So when we come back, you know, we can discuss this a little further and how your book can help us get there to affect those things outside ourselves by going within. You're listening to Conscious Talk, and we'll be back with Ora Nadrich.
And we're back.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us here today on Conscious Talk, radio that makes a difference. And Benny, thank you for that song. It's so appropriate with what we are talking about today. And today we are here with Ora Nadrich, and we're talking about her wonderful new book, Live True, a mindfulness guide to authenticity. And before we went to break, Nora, in the last segment, Ora, I mentioned about saving ourselves, saving humanity. You know, we talk about saving the planet. I believe the planet will stay here, it will exist, it would recover. But we may not, humanity may not be a part of this planet if we continue down the road we are going. And I know people don't like to hear that. A lot of people will, you know, dispute that, and that's fine. But we have created a lot of peril on the planet for ourselves, and for animals and for nature to survive.
Yes.
And this book really addresses how we can heal that. And you use the breath a lot in this book, and we are big on the breath.
Yes.
This is how we did a lot of our inner healing, is through the breath. So could you explain why that's so important?
Well, the breath is the vital life force. That is what, you know, keeps us going, you know, and it's this incredible gift that we awaken to every morning, and we oftentimes ignore it, and we don't even acknowledge it, and we don't even use it properly, you know. And this doesn't mean that you have to be a meditator or you have to do yoga. You know, I talk a lot about, you know, taking 10 minutes just to sit quietly every day. I'm a mindfulness teacher and I'm a meditation teacher, and I work with a lot of people that say they're not going to meditate. They would like to, but they don't or they can't. And I no longer really want to exclude anybody, because you can sit 10 minutes quietly somewhere. We have at least 10 minutes, do we not? To sit quietly, even if it's in contemplation, where you are acknowledging your breath, which means that you literally can connect to the breath within. And whether you put your hands on your chest and feel the rising and falling of your chest, and drop into gratitude that you're alive and that you're breathing. Do you know, this is something that we can connect to every single minute of our life. We have so many gifts that we are bestowed with. We come in with so many gifts. And I like to put the focus on the breath because whether, again, it is a meditation or it's sitting quietly for 10 minutes in contemplation, your breath, as I say, is always there. All you have to do is connect to it.
Yeah, and we want our listeners to understand that there's a lot of methodology in this book, and which is easy to follow, and there are great things that you get to contemplate. But I wanted to address this from kind of the point of view that Brenda started down this road with, is that we've all been wanting to raise the consciousness of not just ourselves, but our fellow humans, etc. And this is where you start. And it's a great place to start because as you raise your consciousness, it will raise the consciousness of those around you.
Absolutely. And I want to just chime into that, Rob, if I can. And what I say in Live True, what you do with your today and what I do with my today affects all of the todays out into the world. If each and every one of us really connected to our true authentic nature, which is connecting to the love, connecting to the compassion, to raising awareness, to heightening our consciousness, we are doing our end of it. You know, it really is incumbent upon us to do our share in contributing to raising consciousness on the planet and not keep relying on things outside of ourselves to do it for us. You know, that's like when you said earlier, Brenda, it's enough. We've really reached our limit with that, I believe. And what you said so beautifully, you know, the planet may stay here in whatever shape it may, you know, evolve to, but it's us that we really need to take seriously as to what is our evolution about. And as I say in Live True, let us awaken now.
Yes. And that is if that is Gabriel, blow your horn, that is a cry for our salvation, basically. We are the only ones that can save ourselves. And as we save ourselves, we save everyone else. And it really is time. It is a clarion call that we're making now. Well, the book is Live True. It's a mindfulness guide to authenticity by Ora Nadrich. You can go to Ora, O-R-A, Nadrich, NADRICH.com to learn more. Nora, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.